Hi, folks. I'm back, and we're ready to continue our adventures with Conrad. One thing that I did do is I had second thoughts about my build. I thought about it, I slept on it, and I decided that I want to go for more of a Meathead character than a straight up magic character. I think what I will do is if I replay this game, and I actually would like to replay this as a pure magic user or wizard, something like that, and then also do a pure thief build as well. So what I did this time, you can't see my cursor here, but I'll just talk through what I did, is if the skill started with 0, then I just left it at 0. If it had more points in it, I tried to just put more points into it, so it's a slightly different character now, but I like the idea of a bit of a direct. It's similar to what I was doing in the last video. It's someone who he's not that bright or he's not that scholarly really. He's strong first and foremost. He's focused on weapon use, but he's going to be a traditional hero, I think, and doesn't know how to climb, which I think is actually kind of funny, more than anything. Yeah, I just on reflection, I think magic and climbing not really worth the 30 points putting that into that. I'm just going to specialize in fighting and we'll see what happens with the paladin. I am going to try and behave honorably, but if I don't do it correctly, I don't do it correctly and I'll just have to live with that throughout the series. So let's just go through this one more time then. Strength is 35 points. Intelligence I left at 10. Agility, I don't know if I increased that at all. Maybe I increased it by 5 points. Vitality, I leaned into as well just because he's a bit more beefy. Luck, I left at 10 because I want him to not rely on luck and in fact be a little bit unlucky sometimes. I think that'll make for more drama, more good storytelling. Magic totally at 0. I think he's going to be a bit more of a skeptic than anything. He doesn't really trust magic. He wants to use his weapons, things that he knows, things that he can feel. Weapon use at 30, like I said. Parry 20. Dodge, I don't know if I put any points into this one or not, but I think I want him to rely more on parrying than on dodging. So he'll probably be using his shield rather than any dodging. So his agility and dodging ability are kind of weak. I want to leave that again for a thief playthrough if I ever do that. Stealth, he's not stealthy at all. He's bumbling through the world, picking locks that requires dexterity that he doesn't have really. Throwing, he does know how to throw, but I think he kind of sucks at that to start. And then climbing, of course, he can't climb. Like I think he's just he's not coordinated enough to do that. I've been watching Ultimate Beastmaster, and I feel like some of the beefier boys, well, boys and girls, but beefier people on that show, if they're not like lean enough, they just really can't make their way through the course, and that's how I imagine Conrad. He's just too muscular to make it. I don't know, to move himself through the world. He's just a bit. He's lumbering. He's a bumbling guy. He's not actually huge from what I can see, but I want to roleplay him like that. A bit of a muscle head. Okay, he's got 0 experience. I think his health is probably higher than it was in the last video. It's at 31 health, and he has 23 stamina. He's not going to have any magic points whatsoever. I think he will still go in to the magic shop and check it out, but I think he's going to turn up his nose at this. I think he's going to be like, "Yeah, not for me," and I think that's just gonna be how it is for my run through this game. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what events lead to other events, and maybe he becomes a paladin. I don't know if I don't remember if magic becomes a thing then. Um, but yeah, okay. I think we're ready to go. Let's go inside the magic shop. That's where we were yesterday. All right. So right away, as Conrad comes in here, right, he's confronted with there's something sizzling over here, cooking. Maybe this is food. He's a man of the physical world. Let's investigate that. It's incense. It's not even soup. The burning incense fills the room with a strange, fiery scent. Can't do much with that. It's not food, Conrad, so forget it. The label says instant fire, just add water. You see a wide variety of arcane objects, for example, scrolls covered with mysterious symbols and arcane incantations. Yeah, and he doesn't know. He knows how to read, of course, but he's just, like, barely scraping by with 10 intelligence. What else do we have here? A toaster oven, very rarely used. Electricity hasn't been invented yet. An ancient balance scale. Zara thinks it will help her maintain a sense of balance. Yeah, this is definitely weirding him out. I kind of don't even want him to be in here. Whoops, that looks like a weird animation. I am Zara, and my companion is Damiano. The items in this shop are designed for those skilled in the use of magic. So not me. Zara has a mysterious, unearthly look to her. You have the feeling that she is not a person to trifle with. Yeah, he's getting the heebie-jeebies, for sure. Well, like, what even is this thing? The bat-winged creature must be some sort of familiar. There is an uncanny look in its eyes, and you don't want to look at it too closely. It is clearly magical. I think, like, sentences like this make me think that this game was still written... I mean, look at his pose. Look at this idiot. I think he's meant to be a fighter. I know in RPGs there's always some kind of canon that the designers had in mind that they try and make first, right? Like the most direct route through the game is probably the fighter. Maybe that's what they... I don't know how they tested this game, but I assume that they probably built the game for the fighter and then maybe layered on thief. Magic does feel more intertwined than fighting, but I don't know. I don't know how they did it. Crystal ball is useful only to those initiated into the ways of witches. Okay, we're not going to look at it any more of this. I feel like Conrad, he'll talk to her, but he's not really interested in shopping here. Like, this stuff weirds him out, and that's how we're going to roleplay him. So who are you? I am both human and fairy folk. I draw my power from both. My name is Zara. This is my shop. Okay. What are the fairy folk? We are a people of power and magic and live in the forests far beyond the mountains to the west. Alright. Never met any, I don't think. Power is the essence of magic, that which the wizard shapes and is shaped by. Okay. What about that creature? Damiano. It sounds like an Italian restaurant. Damiano is both my familiar and my friend. We share our lives and our magic. Alright, well. A familiar is a creature of magical abilities which has been summoned to serve the wizard. The summoning of a familiar is a most powerful spell and can be cast but once. It binds the wizard and the familiar to the ends of their lives. I always thought it was interesting in this game that you never were able to get a familiar as a wizard. I'm pretty sure you can't. The more powerful the wizard, the more powerful the familiar, although you cannot always judge power by a familiar's shape. Like, you meet tons of wizards in this game, or at least two that I can remember. Erasmus is the other one with his rat, but I don't remember being able to summon a familiar myself. Okay, well, I'm not going to ask about magic or initiation. I don't think he's actually that interested. Spielburg. There is much magic in this world for those who know how to use it. There is magic in this little town, and a good deal of magic in this valley. Magic in the town. There is an aura protecting this town from danger. Within most of its walls, there can be no active violence or cruel magic. Even so, it is prudent to avoid dark places. So that's why we weren't able to actually use my sword earlier when I was just messing around earlier with objects. Tell me about this aura. An aura is a spell of protection surrounding something. The town is still protected by the aura cast by the great spellcaster Irana. The great foreshadowing of Irana. She's in like every game. Or she's at least mentioned in every game. That's one thing I really do love about this game, is I really like the world building and the recurring characters. It might be, again, because I've played the 5th game first, So I was familiar with all these characters from Quest for Glory 5 because like I feel like they all come back in that one, and so I was on the lookout for them when I played through this series. I should double check my score that when I restarted this, I didn't actually talk to the sheriff, so I don't know if I missed points there. Who is Irana? Irana was a powerful spellcaster who lived long ago. She brought peace to this valley. Even now, her spell protects this town from violence or foul magic. Her final resting place is due north of town, and it is a place of both safety and healing. It is known as Irana's Peace. So, if Conrad were to become a paladin, or if he were to become interested in magic at all, it would be to protect people. I think he's driven by this need to be heroic. So maybe he's a little bit interested now in this side of magic, the protective side of magic. He might go check out Irana's Peace at some point. So we have some lead now, something outside of town to actually investigate. We know that we need to take care of those brigands at some point. We probably want to talk to the Baron. I don't know if the sheriff told us where the Baron's castle was, but we can check back in with him. All right, so tell me about the valley, the rest of the valley. There is much power in this valley, and it attracts those who use magic. I am here. Erasmus has his house on Zauberberg, and even Baba Yaga has her hut cooped up somewhere around here. All right, so tell me about these two characters. Erasmus is a wizard and a spellcaster who knows much about this area. He lives in a tower northeast of town at the top of a steep mountain called Zauberberg. He can be very helpful if approached properly, but he has a strange sense of humor. Yeah, I don't know if our character here, I just forgot his name, Conrad. Wow. I don't know if he's going to be amused by Erasmus's sense of humor. I think that might be a different playthrough. Baba Yaga. She is a powerful and wicked hag. You would be wise to avoid her. She cursed the Baron von Spielburg when he tried to drive her away. Oh, see. Now we're getting to the core here. Tell me about the hut. Baba Yaga's hut is magical. It stands on chicken legs, and you must know the rhyme to enter. What's the rhyme? I have no interest in entering Baba Yaga's hut, and therefore do not know the rhyme. Yeah, likely story. Of course you don't know. This is Baba Yaga's curse, cast upon the Baron years ago. So you know the curse. Upon von Spielberg and all his clan, this the curse I now demand. What I will shall come full measure, so shall ye lose all that ye treasure. There is always a way to break a curse. Possibly Erasmus knows more about this. Erasmus makes a point of studying the effects of magic upon mortals. There is little about magic in this area that Erasmus does not know. I love how she's capitalizing magic, and that I somehow know that. Okay, Baron. He was once a great leader of this land until he was foolish enough to anger Baba Yaga. We don't know what he did, but he pissed her off. I think that's it. I think that's all that I'm interested in knowing about. So, cool. I'm gonna leave. Thank you, Zara, for your... There we go. Yeah, so dramatic. I think Conrad gives a little bit of a shiver. He's glad to be out of there. I mean, she doesn't even have a door. That's abnormal. I'm going to just speak with the sheriff here. Yeah, okay, I did get a point for that. And I wanted to ask, just check on this. Sorry, I know I'm repeating myself here. We just know that the brigands are hiding around the mountains. That's it. We don't know where they are. We just know that the merchant who got robbed is staying at the inn. So at some point we'll go check that out. And I thought the Baron. Okay, yeah. So the castle we know is north. The reason I'm going through all this again is for the role playing side of things. I don't want to do things that Conrad does not know. So even though I remember how to play this game, Conrad is starting out from scratch. So he needs to learn all this. kind of from scratch. So let me just list out what we're doing then. We know that Irana's Peace is to the north. We know that the castle's to the north. And then we know that Erasmus is to the northeast. We don't know where the Brigands are. That's a problem for another day. There's some kind of curse that's been placed on the valley. So that seems like something a hero could help with. So yeah, basically we're just getting a lot of things to follow up on. There's no journal in this game, but essentially I actually have a journal in person that maybe I'll take notes on. Is that too hardcore? Maybe I shouldn't do that. I'm gonna do it, and this is gonna annoy you guys because you can't see what I'm doing, but I'll just keep talking while I write this down. So we know that there's a castle to the north. We know that there is some kind of garden to the north. And we know that there's a wizard to the northeast named Erasmus, and he's a bit weird. And he knows more about curses, which we need to investigate because there is a curse on the valley. And there's a big bad named Baba Yaga. We don't know where her hut is. Has a hut. And need to know the rhyme. So there's some rhyme to get into her hut as well. Is that it? And we don't, there's also brigands somewhere. Okay. I wish there were a way to type this up on the screen. That would be more interesting to you guys, but just trust me, I've written this down in a journal next to me. Okay, let's keep going. We tried to look at this woman yesterday, and she's just sleeping and rocking, which I feel like that would be really difficult to keep up that rocking motion if you were actually asleep. Maybe it's auto rocking, I don't know. But judging from what the sign says, the building at the end of the street is the Guild Hall. Yeah. All right, let's go in here. You enter the Adventurers Guild Hall. This is a big deal, right? For an aspiring hero. This Adventurers Guild Hall reminds you of the one in your hometown. The traditional moose head and other stuffed monsters, Saurus, troll, griffin, dragon, cheetar, and the terrible Antwerp adorn the walls. You see a registration book on the table and the bulletin board full of job listings. The man seated near the window must be the guild master. He is snoring. Everyone's asleep around here. All right, we already got that description. So let's take a look at this. The fire blazing cheerily in the fireplace helps warm the guildmaster's old bones. A pile of wood is stacked against the wall. Let's see. Let's take some wood. The firewood will serve more purpose here than in your pack. Warm your hands by the fire. You feel like you're frying your fingers. Forget it. No, I didn't mean touch the fire. Check this out. Even in death, this monster remains awesome. The plaque reads, Dragon, slain by Baron Stefan von Spielburg. So, slain by the Baron of the Valley. The head is like a panther's, but with a strong human-like quality. It is still rather frightening. The plaque reads, Cheetar, slain by Wolfgang Abenteur. I think the sheriff mentioned that this guy is Wolfgang, so we'll talk to him in a little bit. But this is certainly a weird one. You've never seen anything quite like it. The plaque reads, Antwerp, slain by 2 guys from Andromeda. That's a little shout out, I think, to Space Quest. It looks like it must have been a particularly nasty troll. You wouldn't want to meet him in a dark forest. The plaque reads, Troll slain by Wolfgang Abenteur. Alright, that's 2 for Wolfgang, 1 for the Baron. This crossbreed of eagle and lion could have torn a man apart when it was alive. The plaque reads, Griffin, slain by Wolfgang Abenteur. Alright, yeah, wow. So he was a real powerhouse. You never saw a purple Saurus before you came to Spielberg, but it looks like a really stupid monster. The plaque reads, Saurus slain by Hans Halfwitten. Okay. The plaque under the moose says, courtesy of the Sierra Online prop department. Alright, cool. The tapestry is so rotten it would probably fall apart at the slightest touch. Alright, let's test that theory. The tapestry feels very old and very fragile, but I guess it didn't fall apart. The window looks out over the countryside. Let's let in some air. Oh, it doesn't open. Check out the desk. On the table is an old but ornate leather-bound book. There is also a quill pen in the ink bottle. Nice. Okay, we're gonna read this book, see who came before us. This entry was made several years ago. It says, Baronet Bernard von Spielburg killed a troll near the Flying Falls on this 23rd day of October. Baronet. So I assume that is someone related to the Baron. Let's see if there's more entries. Might be the same entry. Oh, cool. The other pages record the exploits of the great adventurers of Spielberg's past. The names Wolfgang Abenteur and Baron Stefan von Spielberg appear most often. Cool. Well, obviously we have to sign this. You sign your name into the adventurer's logbook with a flourish. Hell yeah. I don't know what we've been getting points for here, but we're racking them up now. I'm definitely not going to end up with 500 points. I can already say that right now. I don't know the game well enough to be able to do that. But I'll do my best. A past adventurer's armor suit. You wonder why he doesn't need it anymore. Then you see the cheetah claw marks. The armor won't fit you. They made them smaller in those days. Yeah, actually, look at that. Look at that tiny man. They did make them smaller. Alright. Jobs on the board. Reward for return of lost ring. Inquire at the healers. Okay, that's another lead. I'm just going to write that down. So I do think Conrad is probably interested in warming up before he pursues bigger tasks like, you know, breaking the curse. Finding a lost ring does feel like, you know, baby's first quest. Inquire at healers. So this is right up his alley, right? You know, even though he's graduated from his school, he hasn't had a lot of field experience, if you will. Inquire at healers. Okay. Let's see. This poster is rather dusty and faded. The picture is of a small child with braids. Reward of 50 gold coins for the safe return of Elsa von Spielberg. Inquire at Spielberg Castle gates. So I think there's 3 people at this point that we know are part of Spielberg, the Spielberg royal family. Bernard, who's the baronet. Elsa von Spielberg, so maybe a child of some kind. We don't know how old this poster is, but 50 gold coins. We started with, I think, like 5 gold pieces, so that's quite a haul if we were able to find her. Reward of 30 gold coins for the capture or death of the Brigand Warlock. Description: short, ugly, and wears brightly colored robes. It has habit of laughing continually. Inquire at Spielberg Castle gates. Okay. So 50 for Elsa. 30 for this Brigand Warlock. So if we find the Brigands, I assume we find the Warlock. And what else do we have here? It's that one. Wanted, Brigand leader. Description: unknown appearance, wears a cloak. Must provide proof of leader's identity. Reward of 60 gold coins and title of Hero of the Realm. Inquire at Spielberg Castle gates. So this is all a reason to actually go to the Spielberg Castle. Look at these. 3 of them are sending us that way. So we do need to go to the castle, I think. I'm gonna star that actually on my cheat sheet here. 60 gold coins for the Brigand leader. So I'd say Conrad's eyes are lighting up with $signs right now because he's seeing this promise of being called a hero of the realm. So that's literally the name of the game. So you want to be a hero. So I think he's a plan is forming in his mind, right? He knows where he needs to go. Notice spell components needed. Cash or trade for potions. Inquire at the healers. So that's another job at the healers. Picking up spell components. Maybe a quick way to make some cash. I think we're okay finding spell components. It's just more about using magic and using spells that's probably distasteful to Conrad because he's a hands-on kind of guy. And this last one. This poster seems to have been here a while. It has a picture of a handsome but arrogant young man. Reward of 50 gold coins for information leading to the return of Baronet Barnard von Spielburg. Inquire at Spielburg Castle Gates. So that's another one. So that's quite a lot of money promised on the board, but I think some of these notices have been here for a while, so the trail is probably cold. And I think this is the same Barnard von Spielburg who signed last in the Adventurer's logbook. Killed something at Flying Falls, wherever that is. Okay, well, interesting. Baronet for 50. So let's talk to this snoring guy, this hero. He seems like he's kind of a badass. You can't quite tell, but I guess this is like a sword he's holding. And maybe a book, or is that part of his clothing, overalls? I always thought it was funny because it doesn't look like he's quite on this chair. Oh. Did that wake him up? It looks like this old guildmaster doesn't do too much adventuring anymore. Still, he looks like he was plenty tough in his day, and he probably has many a tale to tell. Hello? The guildmaster appears to be hard of hearing. Perhaps you should get closer. I did. Here, I'll wake him awake. Shake him awake. Hello? Alright, there we go. It was just yesterday that I drew my sword and started out. Or was that the day before? No, then last week. Why? What was I talking about? Alright, so he's senile. Now, we are going to talk to him about everything, I think. Because he's... Wait, maybe he's not Wolfgang. I don't know. This is where an adventurer can find out who needs someone brave and courageous. There are many jobs on the bulletin board over there. It is also a good place to talk about adventures on a cold afternoon. We used to play cards here once a week as well, but there are too few adventurers in Spielburg anymore. They all died from monsters or brigands, or they just got too old. Did I ever tell you about the time when Schultz and I rid this valley of Antwerps? Yeah, we were real adventurers then. I guess he has a German accent, I should probably put that on. And this was a real guild hall. Now we are just old men, and this is just a place to tell old stories. I don't know what kind of accent that is. Alright, tell me about these monsters on the wall. You can see some of the types of monsters that live around here if you look at our walls. There are trolls, griffins, cheetahs, mantrays, and goblins wandering in the woods. I hear there are even some ogres and Saurus Rexes back in this valley. There was a time when Schultz and I had gotten rid of most of the monsters around here, but we are just too old for that now. Alright. This is it. This is good. This is actually what we need to know. Conrad is very interested in this because he wants trophies, right? Like, he wants to hunt monsters. So this is very interesting to him. Fighting at least one of all of these would be cool. Just to say that he's done it. Trolls are very tough. Fortunately, they only come out at night. The woods are very dangerous at night. Okay, good to know. The Saurus is a monster easy to avoid and easy to kill for a skilled adventurer. So maybe that's the easiest one. Ogres are a lot like goons, but even meaner. Not as bright, though. Okay. This is not a lot of information. I thought there was going to be more. Goblins are not tough, but when they gang up, they can take out an unwary adventurer. Cheetah. Cheetars are ferocious creatures that charge out of nowhere and try to tear you to shreds. Sometimes they succeed. I really like that they just invent it. So like, troll, ogre, goblin, sure. Like these are pretty. I think my time's up there. Those are pretty standard fantasy monsters, but I like that it's a bit inventive. Like it's not like a pure fantasy world, and of course it gets more interesting. I think later. This is still pretty standard, I guess, the first game. But yeah, Cheetar, like, what a weird concept of like a cat horse thing. And Mantray, I guess that's just like a mantis ray. They just combine those two words and put those together. I'm just gonna finish this monster thing and then we will call it for today. Those weird things are magical. They are best avoided. Okay, well, maybe Conrad will avoid Mantrays just because of that. Saurus Rex. Don't mistake those things for Sauruses. When they come at you, it is sometimes best just to run away. I don't think Conrad's going to run away, to be honest. Whoops, sorry. I'm gonna just... Okay, well, I'll have to remember that for next time, that we're in the middle of talking to this guy. Not a very eventful episode, but there's a lot of information gathering at the start of these games, so bear with me. I was talking about monsters. Chatting about monsters. Just for next time. Okay, well, there's a character limit, so how about just monsters? Guildhall. Monsters. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you next time.